day feel so average when you thought you were gonna be extraordinary? For some reason I've come to feel okay about it though. It was a weird process to get there, much like the stages of grief, because I was grieving the end of a dream and a way of seeing myself that I've held onto for so long. But the pressures of everyday life seem a bit easier when I'm not pushing myself to be more than I am. Yes, and I would also add, dude, life is long, your bones change every 20 years, life is dynamic, and so are you. You feel awesome, awesome feel like shit, still try and be awesome, everything in between is just noise. Enjoy yourself being yourself, cause you only have yourself for a little bit. That's just growing up. I'm sure everyone thought they were going to be amazing, some are, most people are average. I wanted to be in the military or biomed engineer, but stuff happens and now I'm a horticulturist. When we get to their 40s or 50s, many, especially men, realize that their ambitions may never be achieved, resulting in depression, addiction, and sometimes suicide. A remedy for me is to live in the present moment as much as possible, and minimize reflecting on the past or anticipating a future. Kinda works sometimes. Thought I was fairly smart until I started meeting people who were a lot smarter, and there were many. But I have good people skills and that has its own set of advantages. You have to adjust to your personal skill set. I work with a small team of engineers. When I figured out that just being able to communicate and adapt to teams was way more important than GPA, I knew that I would be just fine. I'm far from the expert engineer, but give me a new project and tell me what you need it to do and I'm good. Well, yes. When we're young, everyone expects to be the protagonist since we are the only perspective we have. If we could live in anyone else's body for even a day, we would realize more how we are all fairly insignificant in the grand scheme of the universe. It doesn't mean you can't be great, you just have to try much harder to be great, and there will always be those who simply have more work effort than the rest of us, more naturally talent or better circumstances to give them the tools to be great. All in all, no matter what amazing thing we do thousands of years from now, we will be nothing. Not even a memory. Hell, for the vast majority of us, we will be forgotten about 50 years after we die, once our loved ones are gone too. Still, it all depends what we want out of life. We can try and create some grand legacy and make our memory last just a bit longer, or just enjoy it for what it is until it is gone. Absolutely. I think it's even worse for anyone born/raised in or after the 80s. There's a quote from Fight Club which I think is perfect. We've all been raised on television to believe that one day we'd all be millionaires, and movie gods, and rock stars. But we won't. And we're slowly learning that fact. And we're very, very pissed off. That quote is so accurate. Social media only makes it worse because now people can be constantly reminded of what they're not. All the time. I partially blame the fact that I was put into all exec-rated classes due to IQ testing. They set you aside during your school years like you're something special, when in reality, success in this world has very little to do with IQ and almost everything to do with connections, drive, privilege, and some luck. I kind of had the opposite. I just acted like I didn't care about tests and grades when really I didn't want proof that I couldn't do it. Once I got into an internship situation, it really dawned on me that the smartest kids in the room don't always have the most success, and I was so excited that that meant I had a shot. Additionally, I fully agree with your last statement. The more connections you have, the more access you have to opportunities and references. The more drive you have, the more able you are to meet those opportunities. The more privilege you have, the less distractions you have for your goal, gas money, lunch, and rent. The more luck you have, the more potential situations for all of the above. I kind of see it as right place, right time accidentally, instead of dumb luck. At first I did. I used to imagine myself living this extraordinary life where I would travel the world and teach in an impoverished community somewhere far away and do extraordinary things for the betterment of humanity. Instead, I teach in a suburban neighborhood, have 2 kids, literally a white picket fence, and live comfortably, only traveling on the occasional holiday. At first I felt kinda ashamed of myself for becoming so average. Now I feel differently. I get great joy out of teaching and living the life I do. I love my kids and my life. They bring me joy, and I've come to realize that maybe a lot of average people have the keys to happiness. I used to assume average was bad, and am instead now filled with hope by the idea that average can be incredible, and that many people might lead incredible lives but feel ashamed to acknowledge it to themselves because common is somehow considered bad. I think I used to be disappointed in myself because of a fear of missing out and this misconception that my life had to be extraordinary to be meaningful and worth living. And now I feel like the secret to happiness for me lies in a very simple and mundane seeming existence. So very average, but unique and special in its own ways. Once I let go of the expectations of myself and granted myself permission to be perfectly average and happy about it, it was liberating. Plus, There are little ways to make the world a better place, so I've dropped the guilt of not doing something drastic. I'm never sure if it was my upbringing combined with the higher IQ class in school, but I always felt like I'd be something special. Like I was just waiting for the switch to click, and I'd be a superhero, or famous actor, or some rich guy with a fun job. I'm far from the worst outcome, but damn, acknowledging and living with how plain and boring your life can be is so emotionally draining. I do my best each day, but it's hard not to look back at missed opportunities and wonder, what if? I used to. It literally felt like the overwhelming theme to my life. Then 4 years ago I became chronically ill. 1 year ago I became bedridden. I have fought this disease with all the grace and courage of a comic book superhero. The problem with this world is we only reward one kind of person and we only recognize financial success. I have never been a highly motivated person in terms of career. Don't get me wrong, I am not lazy at all and have worked since I was 16. But I didn't feel the need to be the best in my field. However, I do feel the need to be the best mother, the best wife, and the best human being I can possibly be. My sickness made me realize just how ducking awesome I really am. I hope with all my heart that you recognize your gifts and not judge yourself by the world's yardstick.